Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm your host, Brenda McGee. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Mary-Jo Guadalupe. Mary-Jo, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Mary-Jo, I'd love to know a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a medium, I'm a medical intuitive, and I also am an energy practitioner.
Nice.
And I've been doing it most of my life.
So can you explain to everybody what a medical intuitive is?
So for me, it's when I'm next to somebody or I can just feel their illness, but I feel it within my own body. So, and if like, say somebody's missing a gallbladder, I'll feel like a hole.
Oh, wow.
So I know an organ's missing. I will feel their symptoms and their signs of what they have.
So do people come to you if say they go to a doctor and they say they have no clue what's wrong with me? Would they say, you know, Mary-Jo, could you scan me and see if there's anything?
I've had that.
That's amazing. So when was your first paranormal experience?
Probably when I was about five and a half.
Can you tell us that?
I was in my room, and I saw this figure. I see, feel, hear, smell. It all depends on what energy is around me, how I intercept it. And it was really spooky looking, and I was like, oh. And I called my parents, and they were like, there's nothing there. And then they left, and then I heard a noise, and then they're like, there's nothing there. And I'm like, okay. So, and over time, it just gradually got stronger. They tried to close it down. I don't think the universe wanted it closed down because it just, the older I get, the stronger it got. The more I ignored it, the more signs I received. So it was kind of like just being able to accept it and knowing this is just who I am and part of me and learning how to live with it.
That's amazing. But you didn't have anyone to help? Your mom or anyone didn't, have the gift, or?
No. As far as I know, I feel we're all born with it.
Right.
But as far as both sides of my family, I know no one.
Wow.
Who has done this in my family lineage. And if they did, they never said anything. And they're still not telling me, so I don't know. I just accept it, and, it was about 5 years ago I came out of what I call my psychic closet to my friends and family, and it was very well received.
And do you feel the more that you do, the more everything gets heightened?
Yes. And once you think you got something and you're like, okay, I'm good with it, it comes with a different challenge, or it comes in a different way. So it gets heightened, but it's more of a challenge too, sometimes to see it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. Sometimes it takes a few times to go, oh, I get it. I kind of call it my spiritual V8. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Now I get the message. But it's usually when it's about me, because, as much as we help others, it's a self-evolving journey.
It sure is. And I always tell people it's the trusting part is the key.
That's the absolute key, is trusting in yourself, believing in yourself. And it's not something we're taught to do.
Right.
We should all be taught to do it, but not everybody is. It's trust your instincts. Trust those feelings you have, because they're not going to lead you astray.
And Mary-Jo, this is one of the reasons why I do this show, is so people can be aware of things. Because there's so many children, so many young adults that are so misguided that it makes me so sad.
It's very sad. That's one of my goals, is to somehow reach the people to keep their children open,
right.
To not tell their children, to be more of, how can I put it? I don't want to say a martyr, but to be here so that kids know it's okay.
Yeah.
I went through it. I didn't go through it easy, but I'm still here. When I tend to work with clients, if they do have children who are seeing, feeling stuff now, I get the images of them and I describe their children, and then I get to tell them, listen, you should really keep your children open, work with them. If not, I offer to work with them. Teenagers somehow seek me out. They find me, and they'll just come up to me and go, I see ghosts, or I think it's this. And I'm like, okay, let's sit down and talk. But I always work with the parents first, because even the children I work with, I like to work with them one-on-one so the parents can't influence them so much. But I also work with the parent. It's like a combo separately to know and understand how to work with their child and their sensitivities.
That's great. And it is so funny that children know. It's like they see something in you. Mm-hmm. That would happen to me all the time. Even at restaurants, children will be walking by and just stop.
And
they just look at you.
They just stare at you right in your eyes, and they're like, hi.
And I'll be with friends, and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. They just see the light.
That's exactly how I say it. I'm like, they're just seeing it. They see it. They feel it. They're so innocent. Yeah. And that's when, there's a time when we can work with them when they're older, but when they're little, my husband says someday a parent's going to say, what's going on? We'll be in Stop and Shop, and there's a little baby in the carriage, and they look at me, and they're like this. My husband's like, why do they do that? And that's what I say. I'm like, they just feel that I understand them.
Right.
They know I get it. Animals, same thing.
Absolutely.
I also was an Alzheimer's dementia specialist. They understand it because, as you know, there's no ego.
Exactly.
So it's just communication, and it's phenomenal. Those are my three favorite things to work with: is the kids, the animals, and the elderly.
Right.
They're our future. They're our history.
Exactly.
It's what can we bring in the middle of this, and be able to take, to me, what is very normal for me, and let it be normal for everybody.
Now, so you do readings?
Yes.
Is it mediumship readings?
I do both. I do mediumship readings. I do tarot and regular oracle card readings.
And if someone wanted to make an appointment with you, do you have a website that they can go to?
Yes. It's Mary-Jo Guadalupe.com.
Great. And you have a Facebook?
Yes. And it's just Mary-Jo Guadalupe. I do it on my regular Facebook.
Okay, great. Another thing that I wanted to ask you is, have you noticed a lot of negative energy more than usual?
Yes.
Because I've been getting a lot of people that have been reaching out and are taken over by, and I know it's a lot of the media, it's the energy that people are putting out there, but a lot of people are calling because they're just feeling
overwhelmed.
Yeah, and negative.
I agree, and I've been getting reached out to too, and people also got to understand it's not just the media and all the changes that are going on in our society.
Right.
But I mean, if you look at numerology, we're in the year of a 1, which is new beginnings. We get out of a 9 year, which is endings. Those endings just don't go and pop away. It'd be nice.
Exactly.
But they're going to carry through for at least the first part of the year. So people are still letting go of old stuff while they're coming into new stuff. So they're feeling their own turmoil, plus everything around us with the media and what's going on in the world. I
always tell them, just don't let it get to you.
Just don't watch the news.
I don't watch the news.
I don't watch
and when
the news.
I do, it's like, this is, BS.
It's just, I'm like, take time for you every day. That self-care, especially right now, I feel is so important. Whether it's walking in the woods, if you don't want to go for a walk because you don't like cold, stand outside and watch the birds. Nature is so grounding, and it's so healing. So I tell people, bring nature in your house, have plants.
That's true.
5 minutes a day. You don't have to meditate. Some people think it's all I'm like, no. Blast your favorite music.
Right.
I don't care if it's AC/DC, whatever it is, because sometimes in my house it's Metallica. But blast your favorite music. Dance around your kitchen, but get that energy out of you. Don't let it don't hold that stagnant negative energy.
Yeah.
You need to release it.
I've been doing a few clients lately, and just to tell them how shut down they are, and I was doing this reading, and I said to this beautiful person, you're like a robot. Like, you need to enjoy life. And I always say to them, if you passed away tomorrow, could you say that you did something that made you absolutely happy, or did something that meant something to you? And they said no. And this is a young adult.
Correct.
Now, when you see spirit, do you see it like as a full apparition? Do you see it in your mind's eye, or just a knowing?
It's all the above.
Yeah, great.
My first one's a knowing. I just know they're there. And then I kind of see light, and I can kind of see it's like a shadow for, like, if I'm talking with if I'm talking with somebody and it's their spirit, their loved one's coming in. When it's more of like a paranormal type thing, I get a full vision. So they let me know. First I get the knowing, and then I get a vision. And it used to be just out of the side of my eyes, my peripheral, but the more I embrace in that part of it, because you're going to have the light with the dark and vice versa. Now it's like, they're like right here. They're like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, oh, okay. And again, it's like everything else. You learn how to deal with it in your daily life, and you move on, and you help others to do the same thing.
I always tell people I think I talk more to the spiritual realm than I do to people. It's so much easier sometimes.
Sometimes I'm in the kitchen and I'm talking, and my husband's like, who are you talking to? Because we have 3 kids. It's like, who are you talking to? Is it the kids? Is it the dog? Is it spirit? Are you on the phone? Like, he never knows. So now they just, when they hear me talking, they don't say anything. Because sometimes I do. I'll be like, or I'll say something out loud.
Now, do you do phone readings, or do you have a space that you do your readings, or that somebody could go?
Both. I rent a space in Swansea. I also do phone readings, too. I have a few clients that are around the country that do call me regularly, so.
So you do have a place that you go to in Swansea?
Yep. I rent space out of the Sole Purpose right on Route 6.
Oh, nice. Are you there certain days?
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and sometimes every other Saturday.
Very nice.
So, and sometimes there's other days. It depends on my client's needs.
Do you do classes?
I do. I teach. I'm getting used to the teaching. Like today, being here in front of a camera, I get nervous. Speaking in large groups, I get nervous. Somehow I get through it. Yeah. I know it's my spirit going, just get over there and do it. But yes, I love to teach dream interpretations. I've been working with dreams for years. I've been studying dreams since I was 13.
Amazing.
And it's a way that the psyche gets out, and how your inner stuff gets out and speaks to you. And especially if you can see, hear, and feel, and you are very intuitive. The more you close it down, the more it'll show in your dreams.
And that's what I've been telling people. Pay attention. You're having dreams, you're remembering little pieces of it. There's a reason for that.
There's huge reasons, huge.
And there's a and so they've been writing it down.
When I was 13, I started having prophetic dreams. No timestamp, no date. Yeah. But I was like, oh, this really means something. So I just started studying it, and I started reading Carl Jung, and I started reading all these books, and I just kept studying and studying. And now that I open up to my intuitive abilities, when you put your intuitive stuff with how they describe a dream, you don't even have to, it's amazing how we don't have to know the person in front of us, and it just, what it means to them. I tell people all the time, if only you remember like an orange triangle, write that down.
I say the same thing.
I said that orange means something, that triangle means something. It's sometimes the most minuscule things in a dream are your biggest messages, and your nightmares a lot of times really don't mean that much. Yeah. You know, they wake up, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, this must mean that. And it's usually something really small.
Right.
But then the smallest of dreams usually have the biggest meaning. That's what I found in the last, I'll say few years.
And they do, you're right, they misinterpret things where if they dream about death, they think that they're going to die or somebody's going to die. And I say, that's not necessarily the case.
It could mean something's just going to come to an end in their life. Or maybe it's time that their job just doesn't fit them, and it's time to really pursue their dreams.
Now, do you do galleries?
Yes, I do. Not large ones. I usually do them in a home. I offer home parties with galleries up to 10 people.
Nice.
And each person usually gets around at least 2 spirit each. The most I've done is 15, but I do get a headache. Because I was like, wow, I couldn't believe how much could come in all at once. I was like, okay, well, I got to lower this number a little bit. And I'm okay with that. I like the 10. I really like to keep it personal, one-to-one. I like the fact that the people I'm working with get that intimacy. They get that true. It's not just, I really like the one-on-ones. It's a very intimate setting, and that's the way I like to work, where it's all about them on their healing journey.
And you know something, Mary-Jo, there's a lot of people out there that are looking for that. So I knew this was meant to be when I had asked you to be here, because there's so many people that are looking for that, person that they can go to and trust. And I'm always guided who I need to have on the show. It's almost like the spiritual team says, hey, you need to reach out to this person. Or you have these group of people that say, hey, I think this person would really benefit being on the show, and I like to get you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Now, any other times where you had an experience that you were not comfortable with? Because a lot of people have been asking, how do we get rid of these negative energies or just lower energies, I guess? Is there a way that you do that, or?
I keep myself very grounded. I do use crystals. I have my own little, I want to call it my, I use prayer. I tell people use anything that's close to your heart. Yeah. Anything you truly believe in for the highest good is what's going to stop it. Because what I believe in might not be what they believe in. And if I give them something they don't believe in, they're not going to feel it worked. You need to really believe in it to know that it's working. So some people it might be God, some people it might be Buddha. It doesn't, to me it's whatever your highest belief is, what your highest good is.
Absolutely.
I like to use sage. Sometimes, you know, my business card says guidance from heaven and earth. I'm not just always up in here. Right. I have a lot of earth energies that I use. A lot of them are Celtic. Some people say shamanic, but I've never had any shamanic training, so I don't like to use that word too much. But I will drum to keep myself grounded. I have a buffalo drum. There's just different ways, and that earth energy, when it comes up, will help bring it down. Those earth energies come in a lot when I'm doing the healings.
And I know you said about the shamanic. Isn't it funny how some people are afraid to say that they do that, but you know that's mostly natural, right?
It's what we were born to do. That's our natural, that's how we've always been.
And it's funny because there's a lot of people that won't believe that unless they have a certificate. How crazy is that?
It's a little crazy. I don't, how can I say it? It's not that I don't believe in certificates, but when I do my intuitive readings, healings come through me.
Yes.
Where people are like, oh, you're Theta, or you're that. I'm like, no, I'm Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I have a couple other certificates, but it's up to the universe, the guides, the angels. They give them what they need. I'm just a conduit.
Absolutely. See, I have the same beliefs. I always tell people, you know what? Everyone, it's the intention that you put out there.
Correct. And if you're doing it for the highest good of that person, and your intentions are pure, you're not going to go wrong.
No, not
and the client you're working with is not going to be hurt in any way.
Exactly. They get what they're supposed to get.
They're going to get what they're going to get. Sometimes they don't always like what you give them. Some messages they don't always like. And I always say, I'm sorry, but I give the truth.
I'm the same way.
Because I'm honest. I'm not going to say, well, Spirit said this and they didn't say that. Right. I'm going to tell them what I heard from whether it's their loved ones, whether it's their guides, or whoever it may be in our conversation. In that moment in time we're together, I give them what they're supposed to get because I learned to trust, not just in me, but the universe.
And that's what I was telling these people that are just coming into their gifts. They're like, what can I do? I want to do this right away. And I said, first of all, you have to trust what you're getting. And I tell them to meditate. If you can meditate just to open yourself up, that's a great way to start connecting. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that I meditate. I'm not like that. Do I take a few minutes before each client? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I tell them the most important thing is to remove the human side and let your higher self come through.
Correct. I think it's all about being in your heart space.
Absolutely.
Because your heart is connected to your soul, and a lot of people say that. I've been to a job interview once, and they were like, well, we really need you to think. And I said, well, I've come to a place in my life where I don't like to use my head. I think with my heart before my head. And they said, well, I said, if you don't like that, I can leave. And I was okay with that. And my husband was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to lead with my heart. It's who I am. And that, again, that's another trust thing. Trusting, knowing who you are, and being comfortable with that. And it doesn't come overnight.
It really doesn't. It takes a long time. You know what? You can go online. You can take classes. You can say you learned from this person. And a lot of people will say, you know, can I take classes with you? And I'll say, I honestly, it just happened. And I just started trusting it. There's nothing that I can tell you or classes that I do an intuitive circle, but that's more of, we're going to do a meditation. You know, I want you to trust what you're getting. There's no pressure here. and do it that way. But there's a lot of people that spend thousands and thousands of dollars to be with people that have the name out there that everybody recognized, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
It doesn't. People will work with me, and the first thing I tell them is, if you want to work with me, I do one-to-ones. And they say, well, what's the first thing you teach? I said, grounding and protecting. And they go, what? I'm like, well, I'm not going to let you go out there all willy-nilly. I did that. It's a scary place.
Yeah.
I said, and I always say, it's not all unicorns and rainbows. I said, and you know how the onion peels? They said, yeah. I said, that onion's going to peel for the rest of your life. Because the more you open up, the more you're going to discover about yourself. And you're going to have to work on your own layers.
Yeah.
And the onion doesn't go away. I said, those are the 3 things I teach you. I said, first, because you have to be able to know that everybody you meet is a mirror of you first. And they go, huh? I'm like, so I'm very honest with them, because it's not, and people say, well, I read the cards, I get it, but I want to, I'm like, it takes time. It's practice, but it's about, again, I think it's self-evolution.
Yeah.
It's you got to really do your work to help people do their work. And it's not even helping them, it's just guiding them so that they can see what they need to be worked on themselves.
And respect the spiritual realm.
Yes, that's the whole grounding, protecting.
And that's what I tell people. They're like, oh, I want to go on a paranormal investigation with you. And I would say to them, you're not mentally stable. Not saying they're crazy, but I say, you're going through some things, and if you were to go and you were sad, you were depressed, they'd go right after you.
Yes, you have to be strong on every level, mentally, physically, emotionally, in order to do stuff like that.
And people think, they can do it on their own and things like that. And I say to them, no, we start with a prayer, we end with a prayer.
Correct.
I said, and we, while we're in there, and I think this is what makes us different, is if there are spirits that need to be crossed over, we cross them over.
Correct. Nice.
And a lot of people don't do that. They go in, they disrupt the energy, they disrupt the spirits, and then they leave the people there, and that's so wrong.
It is very wrong. It's watching some of the shows that are out there on TV. I always say, my husband's like, well, and I'm like, oh. He goes, why do you get so mad? I'm like, they should show them crossing the spirits over. Because if they're not crossing them over, I don't feel they should be in there.
I actually took a spiritual warfare class with Father Bob Bailey.
Really?
And Rob Jacobs, because I wanted everything that I could possibly have to help. And that's what they say. They're like, you have to help these spirits. You have to cross them over. You have to know what to do.
And how many people think it's very easy to cross a spirit over? Because it's not.
No, it's not.
Or that they think it's like, poof, you're gone. That cracks me up.
And they believe that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell them, no. I mean, I tell them I can give you a prayer.
Yep.
And you can, try to do this. I said, but it's important because sometimes a lot of them are afraid to go into the light. Mm-hmm. And unless they trust you, because the spirits know.
They do know. They know who to find.
I have investigations, and I know what to expect maybe weeks or days before, and my team members will have the same dream, and it warns us, this is what you're going to come in contact with. Be prepared. Mm-hmm. And that's what I always prayed for. Please show me exactly what I'm supposed to see. Because a lot of times they're very deceiving, and they're going to portray themselves the way that you would trust that energy.
Correct.
And it's like, nay, nay, mon frere.
Yep.
So Mary-Jo, I want you to say again how people can get in touch with you.
They can reach me at Mary-Jo, because that's the hyphen, Guadalupe.com. Or they can call me find me on Facebook under Mary-Jo Guadalupe.
And you go to Swansea.
And they can come to Swansea. I also do house parties.
And they just have to get in touch with you, and they can schedule that with you also?
Yep. And everything's right on my website. They can fill out the form, let me know what they're interested in, whether it's a healing, a gallery, a reading, a spirit reading, dream interpretation. Those are the things I offer the most.
And do you have any upcoming classes?
I have a class coming up in March. I'm actually taking, and I don't ever say it right. It's horrible. I'm doing a class on it, and I can't say the word right. The Ho'oponopono, the prayer, and I'm breaking it down.
I
into the 4 different components and why it's important, because I think right now this is what people need. So that's the forgiveness and the self-love is going to really help them with their self-evolution, especially where we are now in a 1 year, and with the energy we have, I think it's time for them to do that and be able to let that stuff go.
And I think this is why a lot of light workers, this is what I call ourselves, are being heightened, because it's time to teach. So we can teach people and let them know, okay, there's a place that you can go to and learn these things. Mm-hmm. And actually just feel fulfilled, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm. That's how I started. I just started taking classes about 6 years ago. I'm like, all right, I really want to know more. I want to find people who understand me. And I did. So I kind of, what we call is, I found my tribe. I found my buddies. And I was like, wow. I mean, the first time I met a good friend of mine now, Jessica Kozak, I went home and cried. My husband's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I get it. They understand it. I'm not alone. And it was the first time in my whole life that somebody else understood what I was feeling, what I was seeing. And it was like, oh, this is so nice. I can talk to somebody without feeling like, am I going to end up in Butler?
You know what it is? It's a very lonely thing.
It can be.
But I've noticed that lately we're being directed to the people that we're supposed to be around. And it's almost like we're uniting in order to, you know, raise each other up.
There's like almost like this is a tribe, but the tribes are starting to combine. And then these tribes are starting because the light needs to get brighter.
Absolutely.
Because you can put a candle in the dark and light up the dark.
I love that.
But you can't put the darkness in the light.
Because they don't like that, do they? Well, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
And if you would like to get in touch with Mary-Jo, you can go to my website, my email address actually, paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com, or you can go to her website. And thanks so much for watching. Thank you.
Thanks.